Welcome to our first business session, which will focus on response to the industry's expectations from the central and state governments. We are delighted to welcome our panelists to the stage. But before that, I'd like to welcome the person who's going to moderate and take us to the session. Please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Vivek Nair, Chairman of the Convention Organizing Committee, Honorary Secretary of FHRAI, and Vice Chairman of the Leela Group of Hotels. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vivek Nair. And our panelists, all eminent members and senior members of the governments of the various states. Please put your hands together and welcome on stage Mr. Vipul Mitra, Principal Secretary Tourism, Government of Gujarat. Welcome, Mr. Mitra. Please also do welcome Mr. Samuel Mathews, Principal Secretary Tourism, Government of Goa. Let's hear it from Mr. Ashish Kumar Singh, Secretary, Chief Minister's Office, Government of Maharashtra. Okay, he'll join us during the course of the session. And let's hear it from Mr. Raghavendra Singh, Managing Director, Madhya Pradesh Tourism. And ladies and gentlemen, to initiate and take you through the session, it's over to Mr. Vivek Nair. Mr. Nair, over to you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I see a sizable audience today morning, so that's a good sign to start off with. Well, we touched the point about the industry's expectations of the center and the states yesterday in the various deliberations during the inaugural session. But we have with us here today eminent secretaries from the various states who will tell us in greater detail what the states expect, will respond to the industry's expectations. So to start with, without much ado, we'd like to recap what the industry's expectations are from the central government as well as the state government, and then we will ask each of them to respond to that. Well, that's the list of the expectations of the industry from the central government and the state government. Unfortunately for us, we do not have any representative from the central government. All of them are engaged in foreign tours accompanying the ministers of state, either to Pakistan or to the US. But the points which were raised here were also raised by me yesterday in my speech, and the minister also responded to one major issue regarding infrastructure status for hotels. And he promised to push it through because on 1st March 2012, when it was approved by the Cabinet Committee on Infrastructure headed by the PM, the present finance minister was also one of the ministers. Due to some anomaly, only hotels 2-star and above of 10 lakhs in population were given infrastructure status, which is quite aberration because 98% of the hotels outside this limit will not get this benefit. So obviously it's an anomaly, and our minister has taken up this matter with the FM, and he has promised to push it through. So once that comes about, it'll be a great relief for hotels right from the 2-star category to 5-star deluxe. We'll be able to avail loans from the Infrastructure Development Finance Corporation, IIFL. And right now, these only finance infrastructure projects. And unlike the 8-year, 10-year tenure loans we get now, we'll be able to avail of 13, 15-year loans based on the cash flow of the project. As you know, hotel projects have become very capital intensive. And if you get an 8-year term loan from a bank, typically it takes 1.5 to 2 years to just get the permissions. If it's a coastal resort project like in Kerala or Goa, the state government takes 6 months, but the Ministry of Environment Forest takes 1.5 years. So it takes just 2 years to get the permission to start construction. And if you take 3 years as the construction time, 2.5 to 3 years, you're left with just 5 years to pay back the entire loan, which is impossible to do at the present cost of construction. So once this is brought about based on the cash flow of the project, you can even have telescopic repayments so that say 60%, 70% of the loans are repaid in the last 4 years or 5 years out of the 15-year period. So all that will come about now. Plus, we'll be able to borrow in foreign currency. You can take foreign currency loans, and because now most of the tour operators pay in foreign currency. We can repay the loans in the same dollar, or the interest and the principal repayment. So at LIBOR plus, depending on your credit rating, whatever rates you get, say 4%, that is 4.5% or 5%, instead of taking loans from Indian institutions which are at a very high level, ranging from 12 to 15%, at 4.5%, 5%, you'll be able to make the hotels financially viable. The other points from the central government, you know about that, but right now we have our dignitaries on the dais from the various state governments. So I'll start with Mr. Vipul Mitra on my right. He's the Principal Secretary of Tourism in Gujarat. So I'll hand over the mic to him to address the issues.
I'll take this one, thanks. Good morning, friends, and I'm happy to be here amongst you today. The industry expectations have been listed quite well. And government is mostly aware of these things. You know, these things are always under process all the time. This is the basic thing which, on behalf of the industry, even tourism departments of the state governments also have to do internal advocacy within government. So tourism is a very multidisciplinary, multi-departmental kind of scenario, because unless a lot of other departments also cooperate, things do not move. So while we represent government here, within government we represent all of you all the time. In Gujarat, for example, what we have done is, apart from all these things which the industry expects, we are also talking in terms of overall promotion of a destination. You know, that is probably the biggest thing which governments need to do, because that is what private sector will not do. And that has made a huge impact so far as Gujarat is concerned. Business has improved. The number of hotel rooms has increased from 45,000 3 years back, before the Bachchan campaign started, to 65,000 in a period of 2.5 to 3 years. That has resulted in some reduction in terms of ARRs, in terms of occupancies, but that is temporary. We expect the number of rooms to increase to 1 lakh in next 5 years. So there's a huge competition, there's a huge opportunity also. So I think governments need to really build up the environment for the industry by investing big amounts. Gujarat has probably the largest budget in the countries, of about over 100 crores only on promotion, which I don't think any state would probably have that kind of a budget. And that is the vision of our government and the Chief Minister. We brought in Amitabh Bachchan and we showcased the state, specific destinations, very clear kind of campaign, not jargon, no indirect messages, but a direct on-the-spot message to the people, where Bachchan himself goes and invites people, come and visit Dwarka, or Somnath, or Ambaji, or any of these places. So the numbers the increase is huge. For example, 2 years back, the number of tourists in Gujarat, and now the increase is 50 lakhs. It used to be 1.7 crores before the campaign started, and it is now almost like 2.23. So this increase in number, if 50 lakh people, more people, which includes people from Gujarat who used to probably go out earlier, they are now visiting people from Ahmedabad, Surat, Baroda, Rajkot, and bigger cities who used to go to other places. Probably they are now coming to Gujarat and seeing their own state. So that includes the same number also. Now what is happening is, as a result of this increase, there is an influx of, if a tourist spends even 1,000 rupees on his visit, which is very conservative, 500 crores additional amount has come into the economy, and there is a huge developmental effect of that. So I would say that industry has to expect government to very proactively and properly promote tourism in a big way. The second thing which industry needs to expect from government is common infrastructure. Public nature, infrastructure of public nature, like roads, cleanliness. What Minister said yesterday was about keeping the city clean. When we went with Amitabh Bachchan first time to Dwarka, and we were standing to shoot a scene, there was an open gutter passing under his feet. And he said, "Ye kya hai?" isko karwaiye. And as a result of his initiative, we got a lot of funds, and the whole Dwarka town is being refurbished. We are pumping in 60 crores only on Dwarka. So what we did was we promoted 6 places. We allocated 50 to 70 crores in each of these 6 places. Saputara, for example, we're spending 100 crores. So it is like a chicken and egg story. What comes first? Governments cannot first simply create infrastructure and sit and wait for tourists to come on one hand, and for investors to come on the other hand. Investors, like all of you, will come only when there are numbers being seen, at least in immediate future. I mean, you cannot invest like governments. You cannot lock in your money for a long period of time. So we have to create a vacuum in a place so that the investors come in. So that is what we did. We invested a huge amount of money into promotion on one hand, where you would not have done it. We invested a lot of money on public nature infrastructure, like a lot of stuff which goes into that, like roads, drainage systems, lighting, public toilets, things like that. So a lot of such construction work is underway right now in all these 5 to 6 places. And we concentrated on those places to begin with. When we decided what places to be showcased, we did a survey. And we found that 80% of tourists come in maybe 10 to 12 places. This is 80-20 theory, which we applied, simple theory of management. So we said, let us concentrate on these places, let us promote them further, and let us improve them further, and let us not spread ourselves thin. The moment we had that approach, we created the infrastructure in these places. I mean, the work is underway right now, it's happening. We promoted these places, and as a result of that, a lot of queries started coming in, a lot of investments started coming in, and you can see that number of rooms which have increased in these places. Gir, for example, land prices increased 8 times in 2 years because everybody rushed to open hotels there. The moment the Gir campaign started, the number of tourists doubled in 1 year, which were visiting to see lion. And as a result of the capacity constraint, the investor is very, very smart. All of you have a very smart business sense, more than governments. So if we keep telling you, come and invest in our state, you will think, oh, this guy is from state government, he has, obviously is there to promote. But the moment we create opportunities and numbers for you, and don't tom-tom about coming and investing in our state, you will automatically assess that here lies the opportunity, and you will come on your own. This is what is happening in Gujarat. So once we do these 2 things, that is promotion and infrastructure of public nature, the third thing which we need to do as governments is to ease out the procedures. And that is a big challenge even for tourism department, because a lot of other departments have a different mindset. They have different priorities, and probably CM office, like you have the right representative. We could have got more people from other states who are sitting in helm of affair, and they can help tourism within their own states by convergence. Because tourism means convergence. You need finance department, you need taxation, you need revenue department to give you land, you need municipal departments and municipal corporations to do up infrastructure and things like that. We keep talking in terms of committees, intra-departmental, intra-state committees and all, but in practical matters, it is very difficult because each department have their own focus areas. So if we really want to do that, the third challenge is in terms of easing out the procedures. And there was a very good suggestion that there could be a single window committee chaired by Secretary Tourism of a state to give permissions for industries, for hotels and restaurants and things like that. So we are struggling in that area. Procedures in Gujarat are inherently simpler than many other states, but still it requires a lot of efforts to simplify that. Once that is in place, I think incentives and other things come in the end, because nobody does business for incentives or on incentives. Merely incentives do not make a hotel or a restaurant rock. This is what we feel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. But the most important announcement people are waiting for is your comment on prohibition. Of course, when I was president of the FHRAI for 4 years, we had interacted very closely with the Chief Minister. And recently, when I met him in Gandhinagar, he mentioned that we have taken one step forward. They give permits on arrival at the airports to non-residents. And now in some hotels in Gujarat, there is liquor available to be sold in kiosks in the lobby, and at least as a first step, you can buy it from there and go to your room and consume liquor, which was not allowed till now. And hopefully, once the elections get over, there'll be more liberalizations. And also recently, in the last year's IATO conference, when they had 600 delegates, for the first time in the history of Gujarat, special permission was given for them to serve liquor in that confined area, in that banquet hall. So there is still ray at the end of the tunnel.
You could have your convention in Gujarat next year. Yeah. It will not be dry, I can promise.
That's a great announcement. So just one more point. Each state has this tourism policy. Has Gujarat state come out with one? For example, Rajasthan gives luxury tax exemption for 7 years, registration of land, 50% exemption, electricity duty, water, power. In case you can comment.
The electricity duty thing is going to happen very soon because the finance department has agreed in principle to that. So far as other things are concerned, we are not, making a policy, one big policy. What we are planning to do is to have small initiatives being released in between, intermittently. But as I said, that is the most challenging thing even for me to pursue my other colleagues within government to agree to such matters. So we are talking in terms of these policies, but I'm sure if next time you also invite Principal Secretary, Chief Minister, it will be easier for all of us and for me also to follow things within the government. But things are moving. The policy draft is ready, and it is reached the finance department. It is moving quite nicely, and I think this is the election year because of code of conduct, which is likely to come very shortly. What we expect now is to happen is after elections. That's what we hope for.
Thank you, Mr. Mitra. The Q&A is after the sessions. I can now request Mr. Samuel Matthews to speak about the government of Goa.
Thank you, Mr. Nair. Going through the gamut of the expectations that we have, the wish list here, as the Secretary Gujarat put it very rightly, most of them can be classified into taxation proposals. Some of them are normative. You want some norms to be changed, like the FAR, or matters relating to land, procedural simplification, and some of the financial aspects. Now, very broadly speaking, these are issues that cut across so many states and the center, and I for one I'm not in a position to really say that we'll do this or we'll do that. The most we can say what we can possibly do in our state. But broadly speaking, yes, taxes need to be rationalized. There is no point in just going on poking needles into the goose that lays the golden eggs and expecting it to live. So we need to rationalize taxes across the board. We should avoid these double taxation, which happens whether we like it or not. There should be, and I think there should be sufficient lobbying from each state because each state has different policies. But the fact remains is that states are under pressure because they have to take care of their own needs and priorities for which they need a lot of money. So in places like Goa or other places where tourism is in the fore, the easiest way out is to tax that. And that sometimes leads to problems. But most governments are quite sensitive. They don't go beyond a certain point. And they're quite responsive to genuine problems that come up. In Goa now, of course, we know that there are certain issues relating to casinos and use of land and things like that. So we are looking at those things quite seriously. Coming to Goa specifically, in terms of procedure, I think we all need to take a leaf out of Gujarat's ways of doing work, especially in industries. But believe me, it's one thing to come and learn from Gujarat, it's another thing practicing it. Because what we see about single windows are usually there are many, many windows inside that single window. Sometimes hands coming out and grabbing people. So, single window, I don't know, it's just a word actually. Basically what is required is a certain will on the part of the executive to see that things are done quickly. And I for one believe that saying no quickly is also as important as saying yes quickly. Because it stops people wasting their time. People can get on to what else they have to do, get on with their lives, so to say, instead of wasting time hanging around offices trying to get something which may or may not come. The other thing is that, so that is with regard to procedure. In Goa, of course, we are now mindful of a lot of things that have to be done with procedure. There are also a crying need for policy, because some of you may be aware that Goa has been doing this beach tourism for quite some time. We have a mass model. We would like to see something more higher value coming to it, but that's easier said than done. We are trying to diversify the base of our tourism, but we know that carrying capacities are sensitive, especially in the forest areas, and carrying capacities are very fragile. So we really need to do things in a paradigm of responsibility and sustainability. This is very important. Plus, of course, we have a very, aware population who who are not exactly very happy about what happens on ground here. So it does become difficult for the political executive and the bureaucracy to strike out a path where everybody's interests are protected. So in this way, we would also like to see whether smaller and more effective socially and environmentally sustainable initiatives can hold the fort. There may be a different business model that we may need to look at here, rather than just numbers or huge cost per key. The sustainability paradigm, the environment friendly, the eco-friendly tourist resort, all these are possible models